what I can see, as you can see in the title slide, I'm in the first DV department course. But I've done some little adaptations, and what I'll be doing, I'll be taking you through a course. This is the course that we normally run for devotees who want to do deity worship in our temple. They attend 3 classes, an hour and a half each. We try and compress it this evening. So I think there's devotees here who do worship within the temple here, and I'm sure most of you can worship at home as well. So we're trying to speak about both principles there. But the main thrust of this lesson 1 and also lesson 2 you will find will be speaking about deity worship within a temple. But you can apply these principles at home as well. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yes, so yesterday or last night was all very blessed to hear a class by HG Prabhu speaking about book distribution and preaching. So it's very nice that also we get a chance to also present another very important aspect of our movement, something that the Acharyas gave us, which is the worship of the deity, and Prabhupada established many deities throughout the world. So there's many instructions and lessons that Srila Prabhupada gave in relationship to worshipping the deity. So, we have some aims and purposes that we wanted to present this course to the devotees, and these are what we're trying to achieve, to create a sense of reverence and respect for deity worship, for worship of the Lord. Everyone here is familiar with worshiping the Lord. Everyone here is devotees of the Lord. But it's always good to be reminded, isn't it, about the importance of whatever we're doing, because our tendency is to sometimes get a little bit complacent, you know. So sometimes it's good to hear about, just like yesterday you was hearing about book distribution, and all of a sudden it becomes very important for us once more, because we heard from someone, you know. So it's really good, pretty much. So to create a sense of reverence and respect for deity worship, to give devotees a basic understanding of the principles behind deity worship. We won't be getting into so much details of the deity worship, because these details are unlimited in their scope. But we're trying to speak about the principles that go behind deity worship. And also, just if you have some questions as well about the specific details, we'll try and leave time for that. And we'll try and also address that as well. I personally can't claim to know everything about deity worship, definitely not. I'll probably be learning from you as well, but I'll try my best to answer the questions. And if there's questions that come up which I can't answer, I can ask the deity worship minister. You can perhaps enlighten us. Because from my experience in being a pujari, then there's always new questions. You always think every question's been asked about deity worship, but then someone asks the question which, I didn't think of that. What's the correct thing? Like Prabhuji asked, should we blow the conch inside the altar or outside? What's the answer to that one? Actually, as I was explaining, generally it's done outside of the altar, isn't it? As an example, like in Mayapur and Darwin, generally it's done outside. We do the same in our temple as well, done outside. Why? Because it's kind of using your lips, in purifying, so there might be some contamination, So you just open the door. There's an example of a detail, which we won't get into too many details. Into so many details. So, to increase the quality of service to the deities, that's a wonderful thing about devotional service, isn't it? There's always room for improvement. Always room. Perhaps there might not be room for the quantity, isn't it? According to our needs, but there's definitely room to increase the quality. Yeah? To increase the quality of the service. And what's the quality that the Lord is looking for in our service? Anyone can say?
Our love towards.
Huh?
Our love and affection towards.
A love and affection, yes, yes. Yeah, basically that's what it is, yeah. Love and pure. We can become more and more pure. It's described in Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Described that everyone should engage in austerities and sacrifices because they purify even the great souls. Yeah, so to increase the quality of service to the deities, we should always be scratching our head, always thinking, how can we do that? How can we increase the quality of the worship? And if possible, the quantity as well. So, to infuse devotees in their service, we have a phenomenon in ISKCON, not so much in India, but especially in Europe and America, where we have many deities, but not so many pujaris to actually look after deities. It is actually an issue in ISKCON, and especially in Europe. There's many temples which are lacking, and where the worship of the deities has to be changed. They have to accept less worship. So, but we have many devotees in ISKCON, much more than we did when ISKCON first started. So we have perhaps thousands of more devotees than when ISKCON first started. But somehow or another, it seems to be this phenomenon at the moment where a lot of deities throughout the world are not, don't receive the worship that they should. So we're trying to speak about deity worship more, so to encourage devotees in the service of the deities. This is specifically in regards to our temple, to give devotees an avenue by which they can render personal service to the Lord. It's always nice to let the congregation know, those who come into the temple, that they also have a possibility to offer worship to the Lord. I know many people in our temple, they come in and they didn't realize they could render service for the lordships within the Pujari department. But then we put a notice up advertising the course. Would you like to do some service for Shri Shri Radha Ramdhaneshwar? And you can imagine, so many devotees wanted, but before they wasn't aware of it. So this little course we give at our temple is to create an avenue to invite devotees into the worship of the Lord, to enliven and inspire devotees to take up regular service to the deities as mentioned. An introduction to Brahminical culture. A lot of you are probably aware of some of these basic aspects of Brahminical culture, but we will be going over them a little bit. So I'd like to ask a question. Why should we perform deity worship? Most of you, I'm sure you will all give a right answer, but please, why perform deity worship?
To establish a relationship between Lord and ourselves.
To establish a relationship between the Lord and ourselves? Anybody else?
To purify ourselves, we become detached from all material consciousness.
Yeah,
the mind becomes very steady and strong.
Purify ourselves and become detached from material consciousness and become very strong in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Anything else? Get 2 points covered.
For a disciplined spiritual life.
Disciplined spiritual life. This is very important as well. This will be covering as well. Discipline. What do you mean by that? Discipline exactly? Perhaps you don't.
Means following some proper regulation.
Proper regulation. Yeah.
Mind and body with the purification.
Yes.
I think by this process we can detach ourselves from other activities and get attached to Lord.
Yes. Similar to what Guruji was saying. Yes. You have to develop attachment to Lord. Go to Krishna.
To please the Lord.
To please the Lord. Very important. Yes.
On a very basic level, it's considered a religious activity.
Yes, it's in one sense you could say dharma. Yeah. Doing our duty, worshipping the Lord. Yeah. Just out of interest, who has deities at home? Raise your hand. Who is regularly engaged in worship of the deities at home? hopefully the same hands will still yes, so many devotees. Okay, why perform deity worship? Specifically what we're coming to here is that in the Nectar Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives 64 activities. He describes what is sadhana bhakti. Yeah? And the first beginning chapters of the Nectar Devotion explains what is sadhana bhakti. And he gives 64 items there to let you know exactly what you should do as a sadhaka. Yeah, things like worshipping Tulsi, paying obeisances. He goes into many, many details, surrendering to the lotus feet of the spiritual master, Guru Patraya, taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. But he mentions, I'm sure some of you will know these points, he mentions of all of those 64, there are 5 which are very important. And can you name these 5? If you can get them in order, you get 10 points.
First one is chanting the holy name of the Lord.
That's, well, yeah, I suppose that is the first one in one sense, philosophically speaking, but it's not listed as the first one, but that's correct, yes.
Third is
chanting the holy name of the Lord. Yes, any more? 5 very important angas of devotional service, mentioned in the Nectar Devotion. When you hear them, you'll go, yes, I know I should.
Reading Srimad Bhagavatam.
Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, yes. Yes. Hearing Srimad, that's the first one that's mentioned.
Hearing about Krishna Prabhu.
Hearing about Krishna. That's not exactly listed, but hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is hearing about who?
Krishna.
Krishna. Yeah, so let's cover that.
Associating with devotees.
Associating with devotees, yes, very, very important. How many times have we heard, how many times have we experienced the importance of associating with devotees? Yes, so Rupa Goswami mentions that. It's very, very important. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name, and associating specifically with advanced devotees. Specifically a principle of associations. You associate with those more advanced. Doesn't mean you don't associate with no one else. But especially we seek out the association with those more practiced in devotional service. So that's 3. There's 2 missing.
Residing in holy place.
Visiting a holy place, yes. Living in a sacred place, such as Manchester. No, in a temple, you create a temple at home. Or you should make use of visiting the sacred places as well. There's 1 missing.
Deity Worship.
Yes, it's the one. I was giving this class to our pujaris at Soho Street, and they got all 4, but they couldn't get this last one, and they're the pujaris. Missed their mind. Escape. Yeah, serving the deity from the Lord with great faith, and we're specifically speaking obviously here we're speaking on number 5, and Rupa Goswami goes on to describe he described that 35 of those 64 remaining minus the 5, they're all in relationship to the deity. Yeah, who's read Nectar Devotion here? Raise your hand. Nectar Devotion. You read that in the Nectar Devotion in the beginning chapters. It gives a long list of it gives a long list of offences to be avoided in deity worship. We won't be getting into that because there's quite a few there, but it's worth reading. Take note of that Nectar Devotion. So 35 are listed there, explaining about deity worship. And and this is one nice quote here from Prabhupada, from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Someone like to read this quote?
The power of these 5 principles is very wonderful and difficult to reconcile. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can experience the dormant love of Krishna simply by being a little connected with them. Chaitanya Charitamrita Machili.
Yes. Has anyone noticed something quite intriguing about this statement? It's this verse.
Difficult to reconcile.
Even without faith.
yes, you can obtain love of God without faith. And what's the first thing that we adore, Shraddha, Sadhu, Sangha? One of the first things that we're taught, what's the first thing that you develop in Krishna consciousness is faith. But here, these describe that even without faith, one can experience the love of God.
But you have to be offensive.
Yes, yes. But you have to be offenseless. That should be noted as well. Very important point. Yeah, we can see, we can experience this where sometimes, I don't know whether you have seen, but sometimes on Rath Yatra or we go on Harinam, we have seen many times where many persons, by seeing the Harinam, by seeing the Harinam, even though they're not devotees, you can tell that they're experiencing something very sublime. You ever seen that? Where they're looking at the Harinam like that, and while looking at Rath Yatra, you heard them describe how some people, they just felt this indescribable happiness within their heart by seeing the Rath Yatra. What they're experiencing is love of God. Of course, for love of God to fully develop in that person, they have to practice all the angas of devotional service. But the power of these items of devotion is very, very powerful. Just like you might have seen also where some persons visit the holy dhams, and sometimes it's not always for a religious duty or for a devotional, out of devotional sentiment, but it affects their heart greatly. There's many stories like that where persons go to Vrindavan and they become so enchanted. So without these five is very difficult to reconcile. So what to speak if you're actually engaging purposefully in one of these items without offense? And or which of these did the Prabhupada give us? It's a trick question. He gave us all of them. He gave us all of them. So there's one, there's something which perhaps is something that it becomes more and more profound, more and more realized as a devotee engages in Krishna consciousness, is that the Lord is actually in other words, we mentioned a few times the word deity, but Prabhupada, he said in reference, I've heard it said in reference to Radha Damodara, but I've never seen the quote improved. That Prabhupada said, you are thinking this is a deity. So the Lord is present, the Lord is non-different. Of course, we're familiar with this aspect of the philosophy, but it's something that as we engage in worship of the Lord and as we engage in our devotional service, it's something that becomes more and more profound to us. It's something that becomes more and more wondrous to us. Now there's a fault in this title actually. Can anyone point out what is not right here?
Lord is present.
Yeah, no?
Lord is deity.
Yeah, he's not inside. Yeah, Lord is present in his deity form. So you can read it two ways, depends on the grammar. But it's not as if the Lord is inside and outside. It's not. It is no different. Yeah? So the Lord is completely present in his deity form. Just ask somebody very so. Anyone can share some? Well, most of you are familiar with the form of the Lord in the temples, but perhaps someone could share. What was your thoughts on first seeing the deity or a deity within an ISKCON temple and the worship? Could you reflect back and remember what your impression is?
Yeah, I've never seen such a beautiful form of the Lord ever other than ISKCON temple.
No, never seen such a beautiful form of the Lord in ISKCON. Yes, yes. Describe that a lot of people in India, they respect ISKCON for its very, very high level deity worship. Yes. So, never seen something so beautiful. Yes.
Recently I heard one comment from India, from one of my relatives, that deity worship in ISKCON temples, that is wonderful.
Yes. From
Aarati with full,
yes.
complete deities and.
Where did you hear that?
In Hyderabad.
Yes. Yes.
Forgive me for my ignorance, but I heard that Sri Sampradaya standards are much higher
Yes.
than current or ISKCON standards. You have any feeling on that?
We shall catch them up. Yes. We're not saying we're the only one with high standards. Yeah, so it's very good. Very good. They also, yeah, they're very regulated, very, yes. Well done, very good.
We are from South India, like if you go to Balaji temple.
South India especially, yeah. Cool.
But they're not so much presenting the. It's not like usually such an open altar with beautiful decorations and things like that. That's the difference, isn't it? The standards may be high, but often it's quite dark,
presentation,
difficult to see.
Enclosed and more accessible.
Yeah, whereas in ISKCON it's meant to be shown, everybody can see.
Our Deity Worship is very much in the mood of the Sankirtan movement. So we're there to give, to show. And also they have a very high level of worship. They have exhaustive rules and regulations, unlimited rules and regulations. That, for instance, the Polytheist strict worship they follow, even to take a shower in the morning will take you 2 hours with all the mantras and things like that. So in that sense, in one sense they have a high level, but in another sense, perhaps as the level of worship that Prabhupada gave us is couched with the understanding of the Sankirtan movement. So we have rules and regulations, but we don't go quote unquote crazy. We don't go.
Yeah, good.
Because there's no time for preaching. No time. No time. Anybody else?
Well, it means it's more available, isn't it? To ordinary people. You don't have to be trained for.
Yes. Normally to worship the deities in such temples in the Sri Sampradaya, you have to bring the pure family for the last 10 generations. But Pancharatrika scriptures that we follow, it gives the process by which anyone can become purified. Military, Yavana, anyone. Worship the Lord. Anybody else? My first impression of the deity, of the form of the Lord in the temple, I was explaining yesterday that there was no impression. It was like I just saw lights at one end of the temple room, and I couldn't make out what was on where the lights were. So unaccustomed, so conditioned, unaccustomed. I didn't really. It was like I was looking at some type of light show, and nothing was permanent. There was flowers, there was this, there was that. It wasn't like this for Western conditioning. Anybody else? Perhaps one more person can share. What was your first thoughts on coming to a temple and seeing the form of the Lord?
I went to Soho Street, deities, and I prayed to the Lord that I go there again and again, because the deities, Jagannath is also smiling, with full, and Radha Landanishwar, he also is, is very, I can't explain, so attractive there.
You could be living in Manchester, you can't. Yeah, so you prayed, so you felt attracted, you wanted to go again and again.
And, I try once in a month or 2 in 2 months, I somehow other go there in London and I try to visit them.
So it had an impression on your heart. That's the mood that we decorate the deities, that's the mood that we perform Pujari service as well. It's this mood of Sankirtan. Because the Lord is beautiful anyway. The Lord is beautiful anyway, but still it's as service of the Lord to attract people's attention. Especially this day and age, especially in London or any big cities, there's so much going on for a person's entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So-called entertainment. So that's why also we're as opulent as possible. Yes, the Lord is not different. One should have full faith and love in worship of the lotus feet of the deity. This is from Madhya Lila, 22nd text. And this quote here, my dear Lord, you are not a statue, you are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. And this is directly Panchatattva. It's not just a picture. Panchatattva idea. Anyone know where this second quote comes from? one very nice Leela story, Chitanitamrita.
Gopal, Sakshi Gopal?
Sakshi Gopal, yes. This is a statement that the young Brahmana boy said to the deity. He actually said this. The deity spoke to him, wasn't it? What did he say? No, just he spoke to him. He was asking him. No, that was it. He was asking him to, because he was the witness, wasn't it? There was a witness. There was an elderly Brahmana who felt so much inclined to the young Brahmana for taking him on pilgrimage that he promised his young daughter in marriage. So then the time came when he went back and the family disagreed with it, the whole pastime. So then he went back to the deity and said, okay, so now you bear witness. So he said, I can't do that, I'm a deity. I can't. How can I go? So what did he say? If you can talk, you can walk. Yeah? If you can talk, you can walk, which is a very good argument. What can he say? So this statement is there. My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Mahajananda. So he had complete faith. Yeah? And he had complete faith in this. So could we just quickly? This is this one. Going back to read.
Worship of the Archa is not idol worship. The Archa is an incarnation of the Lord in a form appreciable by a devotee. Therefore, devotees engage in the temple in the service of the Lord as Archa Vigraha, a form made of sthula material objects. A form made of sthula material objects such as stone, metal, wood, jewels, or paint.
And it continues.
All of these are called sthula or physical representations. Since the devotees follow the regular principles of worship, even though the Lord is there in his physical form, he is non-different from his original spiritual form. Thus the devotee gets the benefit of achieving the ultimate goal of life, that is to say, becoming always absorbed in thought of the Lord.
So this is one of the perhaps principal understandings of worship of the Lord in his form as a deity. He is actually the Lord, and so we treat him in a personal way. So we try and serve the Lord in a personal way. For instance, when you're preparing something for the Lord, you would say you're preparing some fruits or something, so you're cutting the fruits to the size that the Lord can pick up. So even if this is a philosophical understanding at first, if we have this philosophical understanding and we then treat the Lord in a personal way, what will he do? He will reveal himself accordingly. Understand? He actually reveal himself accordingly. So this point we're making, this is quite a fundamental point in Deity worship, is understanding that the Lord is personally, it is the Lord personally present. Krishna is personally present to receive the worship of his devotees. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam, that's from the Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto. Definition of Archana, quite simple definition. Archana is defined as offering of articles of worship after having performed preliminary purificatory Pavanga karmas, activities such as Bhuta Suddhi and Nyasas. So, don't worry too much about those complicated terms there. Pavanga karma, basically, for all intents and purposes, that means Archana. That means you're preparing yourself. So that's the basic definition of Archana. What's the goal of Archana? I don't know what you say. What's the goal of worshipping the Lord?
Please the Lord.
To serve him properly.
To serve him properly.
To please him.
to please him? Yes, but no. When you hear this answer as well, you go, yes,
Chant.
huh?
Chant.
As a service to Lord.
As a service to the Lord? No? Yes, but no.
You offer him various articles because like Yashoda Mai used to bathe him. So that you are doing it for the I don't have a term. Because it's your love, you are doing it, you have to do it.
No? Yes, but no.
For our purification.
For purification, yes, but no.
Surrendering.
Huh?
Surrendering.
Surrendering? No. Yes, but no. The goal is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal of everything we're doing. Yeah, it's for all the rules and regulations are subservient to this actual point, to actually bring us to this point. We can always remember Krishna. Yeah? So, if we remember the goal, then the rituals which someone said you could describe as rituals, and if we remember that the goal isn't to learn the rituals. Sometimes we think like, yeah, it's to learn the rituals. The goal is just to have quite an intense impression of the Lord within our mind. Yeah, so we can always remember him. Yeah? Of course we should learn how to do it, but again, not just like smartaron, they're just learning how to wake up, how to shower, how to do this, how to. But the goal is that is the idea we can always remember Krishna, and never forget him. Yeah, and yeah, just read from here. This is very nicely explained. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the definition of archana, deity worship includes a variety of activities, some of which may appear rather technical or even ritualistic. But if one keeps the goal of deity worship clearly in mind, then the different aspects of archana with its various technical rules and regulations will have found to serve their purpose, which is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so to please him, to satisfy him. If we understand the meaning of archana, namely formal and regulated offering of respect and service to the Lord, then we may understand the process of archana with full faith, enthusiastically performing the prescribed procedures of purification, establishing different articles of worship and offering worship. So it's there to help us remember Krishna. Yeah? All the rules and regulations are there to assist us in remembering Krishna. So, any questions or comments? Please, if you have a question on this, just raise your hand. Answer. This next point is Pantaratrika, and I'm sure you've heard of these terms, Pantaratrika and Bhagavad Gita. What is Pantaratrika?
Type of worship.
Huh?
Type of worship.
A type of worship. Yes.
Rules and regulations.
Rules and regulations, yes. Basically Pantaratrika refers directly about deity worship. For instance, coming into the temple, ringing the bell, that's under Pantaratrika. Yeah? Paying obeisances is Pantaratrika. Yeah? And all the aspects of deity worship, all comes under Pantaratrika. Yeah? Vidi means path. Yeah? So it's it's deity worship. It's the worship of the deity and all the rules and regulations which go with that. And I'm sure we know what the next one is, hopefully. Bhagavad Gita is chanting, yes, chanting, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. 9 processes. Which can Shravanam, Kirtanam, well, that's more, that includes Archanam as well, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Swami, Pada, Archanam. But Bhagavad Gita refers to chanting the holy name of the Lord, going on Harinam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah? Which of the two is most important? Shravanam, Kirtanam, yes, Bhagavad Gita is most important. So,
but they're also described as two whales.
Yes, that's parallel. like that. There's a two rafts. Yeah. So why do we need to do Pancharatrapiti? Can we just chant then? Can we just close gardens and chant? So why is there Deity worship?
To help us to focus on chanting.
To help us to focus on chanting, yes.
So for sadhaka, practicing bhakta, one has to follow rules and regulations.
Yeah, that's it. Basically, it's an auxiliary. It assists us very much in having a pure mind in order to chant the Lord's holy name. So both have to be there. Both have to be there. Later, if we have time, we'll see, we'll give some quotes where Prabhupada is speaking about how important it is for everyone, especially for devotees who are in the Grihastha community, that they have to worship the deity. So both are there to keep us on track. Sometimes, from personal example, sometimes devotees who engage as servants of the Lord, as pujaris of the Lord, then we can sometimes lose touch with the Bhagavat. You know, we may chant our rounds, but the last time we went preaching was like 3 years ago. So the last time we went on Harinam, London we have Harinam every day, so it's a good, so we should go at some point, but sometimes we can just get so involved in worshipping. So in other words, you may have deities at home and worshipping, but you shouldn't lose touch with the Bhagavad Gita, with the chanting and the rounds, obviously, but also the preaching mission of the Lord, somehow or another. Gather together for kirtan like we do this evening as well. Gather together. And also not too much in the other side. Bhagavat. If you're just doing here and chanting, and also want to engage in worship of the deity, then in tendencies you might become unregulated. I remember personally we was on travelling, booked to Shibushan, we was in a van, we was travelling in the south of England, and we was just doing Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. There was no deity worship. And gradually, the time we started waking up was getting later and later. Because there was no Mangalarti to attend, So what's it like when there's no Mangalarti to attend? 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes, like that, or someone else is doing the worship at home, they don't want that. So that happened to us, and then because we were waking up later, it was more difficult to get out of the modes of material nature, We've been too much under the modes for too much long, and sleeping too long, and then gradually our relationships with each other became a little bit not so nice, not so pleasant, and we was living in a small van about this big. That's become a bit of a challenge, So eventually we went back to the temple, great relief. See the form of the Lord, engage, wake up Mangalati, regulated. That is straight from here. Lord Chaitanya has taught that the primary means of God realization in the age of Kali is to hear and chant the holy names of the Lord. Therefore, Harinam Kirtan is the essence of all practices by which one can obtain constant remembrance of Krishna. Still, though devotees can come to perfection simply by taking shelter of the holy name, authorities have advised us to engage in deity worship as an auxiliary sadhana to Kirtan. For Archam, this is the point, helps reduce material contamination and non-devotional tendencies. It helps reduce material contamination and non-devotional tendencies.
But is there a difference between being on the altar and doing archana and just being in the temple room and observing it?
It's the same. Describe that if you're unable to, if you're unable to personally do any deity worship, then if you come and see the deity worship, it's considered you're doing deity worship. Paul explains that it's considered you're taking part in archana. Just by seeing the arti performed. You're taking part in archana. It's described like that. It also brings steadiness to the materially agitated mind, for it impels us to engage many of our senses in directly serving the Lord's all-attractive forms. So it's such a wonderful thing to do. What do most people do today when they get home from work?
Watch television.
Watch television? Eat.
Chit chat.
Chit chat. Facebook. Log in.
Twitter.
Huh?
Twitter. I don't know how you
Is
pronounce
it?
it. Is that right?
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah. Twitter, Facebook. Yeah. As us, after a hard day's work, we want some relief. Oh, Twitter. But what should we do when we first get home from work?
For obeisances to the deities.
Obeisance to the deities, yes. And then you may offer some incense, or you may offer the, boga. So, that should be our source of, relief. So it washes all of that material, because, we have to work, isn't it? And when we're working, is there anyone who works with just devotees here? No. We have to work in, isn't it? It's very, very lucky if you've got one other devotee in your workplace, So, so when we come back from work, we should, take shelter, of worship with, yes.
You say when you come home, you just start worshiping with the incense.
Well, it may not be exactly that. You may
Just take a shower.
Yeah. Yes. Depends on the standards you may have at home, but yes, generally you should take a shower like that. It also brings, mention that. It's a bit close, so yes. I'll try and speak away from this. Yeah, temple worship strongly emphasizes Vaidhi Bhakti, involving strict regulations. This forms the basis of Panchratma Vidhi. In a temple, it's very, very strict. The temple is a temple, is very strict. But at home, it's a bit different. According to the circumstances you are in. For instance, we'll speak about this a bit more later. We have time a bit more later. But for instance, if you're, like we offer the boga, for instance, we offer 6 times boga for Londonishvara, so one boga is offered at 6:40. It has to be 6:40. Has to be. It can't be 6:39. It can't be 6:41. It has to be on time. On time, not before time. So like, as the bell's ringing, the hand tick, 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 ding, 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 on time. And especially if it's more than 3 minutes late, the offering is described. It's described in Radharani gets upset. So I don't want to upset Radharani. So one person's upset. So it has to be. I was very strict, rules and regulations. It was very strict. It has to be on time. But at home, at home is different. If you're just about to offer your boga to your deities, and you hear in the backyard your child starts screaming, what would you do? What should you do? No, very strict, got to offer the boga. No, you go. You run, Go to Tani Raman, he knows words, don't worry, he understands. But in a temple, if you do that, it's an offense. The idea is there should be other people around as well. Perhaps if you're in a temple, there's no one with Gujarati, there's no one here, you might okay. But in a temple, you get someone else, or find out, like sometimes we get, sometimes, quite often, we get crazy people come to the temple, and it causes a whole big thing. It's really intense. And Pujari has to just carry on, you can't stop. The other day, someone had an accident on our altar going down the back stairs. One of our Pujaris slipped, and he fell backwards down the stairs and cracked his head, and he had 5 stitches. And he was laying down and blood everywhere, It was a very unpleasant scene, but Pujaris had to keep on dressing because it's 7 o'clock deity greeting. Of course, they called someone else, so one of the ladies come up and said, we all ran down the stairs, but Pujaris they carry on dressing. But at home it's different. Yes, go, I'll give an extreme example then.
Obviously in Soho Street Temple, the times are set, but should other temples, like for instance this temple, have a set time for offering? Or is it not?
Yes, I just put that question on hold because we're always speaking about punctuality and cleanliness. Yeah, about punctuality. So I will cover that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not so much about punctuality, but whether that a particular time should be set.
Yes, yes. And this temple. This is a temple. Actually, it helps because it's purifying. Because the things that have to be done for the Lord to get His offering on time is quite intense sometimes. And it's like, sometimes we experience in that temple where someone's coming from outside, you know, and they have to come and offer the arti. So they have to be there at 6:30 or before time. Sometimes there's a train strike or there's traffic. And they're anxiety to think, how am I going to get there? I have to get there, I have to get there, I have to get. This is the resolve we should have. I have to get there on time. We'll cover this a bit. In punctuality, there's you could be late for anyone really, or you could be late for a doctor, you could be late for this, but you shouldn't be late for Krishna. Try to be on time for the Supreme Personality of God as much as possible. Of course, there is some things which may happen, like even with an ad temple, there's some things where it's beyond someone's control. You know? But then they phone up. You know? Because it has to be done, so they phone up someone who's there at the temple. Oh, I'm late. I'm not going to make it. There's been there's a car crash and there's something, So there's communication is there. So I carry a mobile phone and often ringing with these things, So yeah, the temple should be, and so it's not worse. Has anyone experienced what's it like when you are going to meet someone and they come late? What goes through your mind? You experience that? What's it like? You look in, isn't it? You're looking at the watch, looking, where are they? There's one quote which comes up later, where one French proverb, it explains that when someone is late, for that time they are late, you're always thinking of their bad qualities. Or you're always thinking of, it's a materialistic statement. You're always thinking of, why are they not this, why are they not that? So it's good to be, it should be time, especially Prabhupada emphasize punctuality. And let's just go on with it. Time is 8:30. Try and go at least till 9 o'clock, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay, we'll just go over these because I'm going to just... This is Prabhupada emphasizing both the Panchatrika and the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm so glad to learn that you are taking very much interest in deity worship. And such activities must be accompanied with chanting of the holy name regularly. Actually, chanting of the holy name regularly is a life and soul. And on the basis of such activities, all our devotional service will sustain. Now, I just remembered where, who was that? There was one devotee was explaining that he became a devotee because he was so taken back by the worship of this before as a devotee, they actually was invited to his house, and they came into the house and they saw the altar, and they were so amazed. They'd never seen such a thing. Beautiful flowers, it was all arranged so nicely, and that actually made them devotee. They actually had such an impression that they came into the house and what's going on? Why is it? Why? What? How? What? What are you doing here? So so there's that mood that just came to mind. That's in regard to this is the mood that we are. So even we dress, we have opulent deity worship at home. We can have opulent deity worship in the temple. We can have opulent deity worship at home, according to your means. Make it look beautiful. Make it look astounding. Also, I was in a devotee's house a couple of weeks back. Yeah, beautiful. It's so enchanting. We had one room. He was fortunate enough to have one room we had, set aside for his altar. Beautiful. I'm sure some of you do as well. The qualifications for archer. This is more specifically here, especially in temple worship. If pujaris are negligent in their services, they can be havoc in the temple owing to dissatisfaction of the Lord. On the other hand, if pujaris are Krishna conscious and dutiful, the deity worship becomes the most potent form of preaching Krishna consciousness. So it can create havoc, not just within the temple, it can create havoc within the yatra as well. If the pujaris are negligent in their duties, or it may be, yes, pujaris have to follow rules and regulations, and we have to follow regulative principles. So if the worship is being done by someone unqualified, it can have quite catastrophic effects unless it's corrected. Yes.
Prabhuji, you mentioned that you put up a notice in asking for pujaris. Do someone want to do service?
Yeah.
Now people come from different backgrounds, and you are ready to give them, the very high standard of service.
Yeah. Generally, how we do it, we put up a notice like that, just advertising this little course we do, and in the as we're going through the free classes, we get to know them. And if they're perhaps not at the highest standard of personal cleanliness, then we just, then we, and they still want to render some service, there's always something they can do. It may not be in the pujari department, for instance. It may be some way they can assist, drive into the flower market, something like that. So we do have to make some discrimination, obviously. So let's just...
Yes.
Just one small detail. I hope I don't mention it. I hope the Pujari doesn't mention it. See, the garland here, you see it's covering the face of a Vaita chariot. So what you can do is just, if you have, normally what do you, if you have blue tick, if not, so blue, just do it so it comes lower, Small little thing, Remember our temple president when we used to put, Marjorie Prabhu used to put garlands on. If you couldn't see their face, you'd go straight in their face. And that's, so many people are coming to the New Delhi temple because of nice deity worship. So you could say, so many people are coming to my house to see the nice worship. Yeah? This is very good. Keep the stand of deity worship very nicely. Very important point here, I mentioned quickly. Very important point to remember. In you're being blessed to engage in the worship of deity by the mercy of your spiritual master. Yeah. So we are, even our own deities, we're blessed that the Guru has blessed us. It's generally always good to seek the blessings of one's Guru, Shiksha or Diksha, and depending on this situation, but you should seek blessings for worshiping deities, especially worshiping deities at home. Best not just to go get a set of deities and seek blessings from the Guru, because you're doing the worship on their behalf actually. That's the understanding of the worship in the form of the Lord. So we are acting as servants of the Lord. Therefore, before we engage in deity worship, and perhaps even at home, and specifically in the temple, there's what's called Bhuta Suddhi, which we mentioned before, which you get yourself prepared. And one of them aspects is we pray to the spiritual master. Shri Guru Paramandara, Paramandara, Parampara, Paramandara, Saram, Nam, Niyoja. Oh my dear spiritual master, who's always absorbed in the bliss of love of Godhead, please engage in the blissful service of Krishna. And we do this, and we do our worship of the Lord in that mood that we are servants. Now, when you're doing regular service, you'll you'll get to learn that verse quite well. Shri Guru Paramandara Brahmandara Brahmandara, and it may just become just that, you just learn it to, Shri Guru, and you're not really thinking about it. You're doing something every day, and it's not in your mind. So in other words, this is a meditation that we enter into when we recite this prayer. Shri Guru Paramandara. I'm doing it on behalf of the spiritual master. I'm saying this from experience, so I'm not preaching to myself, because we go into the Bajari every day, we should Guru Paramandara, Bhimandara, but we should carry the meditation during our worship. Carry the meditation during our worship. This is by His grace that we've been given the fortune to worship the form of the Lord. This here we know this very well. This is from Guru Astaka. We sing every morning in temples. Okay. Any questions from any in this place? Yes, please.
For the deity worship in temple and home, sometimes if we do anything at temple, may not be possible to do at home. So, is it okay, or Sunday mornings, if we attend class and till Bhagavatam, going home by 9. So, the high priority is temple.
Yes, there is a quote. We'll see if we can get through our time. But it is where Prabhupada he explains that we should always remain strong. He did encourage devotees to neglect the temple in the name of worshipping at home.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Prabhupada made a point of that everyone should be strongly connected to a temple. Even he wrote a couple of letters that I think it's best you focus on the temple worship, rather than have devotees at your own home. Prabhupada said that. Specifically, but if you're living too far from the temple, it's not possible to come in on a daily basis, then definitely one should worship Lord at home. Now, what do you do when there's a festival at the temple and you have your devotees at home? It's good if you can, it's good if, normally, from my experience, normally there's a husband and wife team. So they should act like a team, or you may have grown-up children. Husband. So together you try and help out. Okay, so who's going to go to the temple and who's going to go home and offer the Lord His food? So that He makes them. It may be, for instance, of course, the deity home is different. So it may be, by the force of circumstance, you may not be able to come back at a specific time. So then, what you can do beforehand, you offer, you have the offering, you have some nuts, and you put it there for the Lord. Offer something. My dear Lord, please forgive us. We're going to engage the forlorn worship in the temple. Please forgive us. We won't be here. Best is to try and make some arrangement if you can. Your wife or someone like that, or husband, whatever it may be. You can try and so that the offering goes on. It is at our temple, normally we have devotees they rush to get home to offer their. They always say, go on inside waiting to be fed. They haven't been fed. We've got to get home and feed them. Go inside, So there's some flexibility there, but trying to, if you can avoid it, teamwork. Okay. Time is going on very fast, and there's lots to cover. I'm not going to cover everything, but there's 5 aspects of deity worship. This is a very interesting topic. This is one of Panchatra Pradeep, which helps us understand the broad spectrum of worship of the Lord in His form of the deity. The first one, and these all go together. You can't have one without the other, as they say. One's Abhigamana. Panchatra scriptures describe. The first act is Abhigamana. This means such thing as putting on, as taking bath. So it's good to keep that in mind as a servant of your deities at home. Before you begin your worship, as a servant of the Lord in the temple, then your bath is deity worship. You're beginning the worship of the deity. You're preparing yourself to actually come before the Lord. So in Vedic scriptures it describes that, and in Panchatra Pradeep describes that bathing is taken as a sacred act. Sacred act. There's prayers that one chants while one's bathing. Why? Because you're preparing yourself to come before the Lord. Putting tilak on, neck beads, Cleaning the temple, removing used articles like flowers, removing them in the morning time or last thing at night, cleaning. Basically all the activities that you do up to your first worship is known as Abhigamana. And there's details is given of all, for instance in Panchratapati it gives some details of cleaning teeth and things like that, is how to, taking shower, things like that. That is deity worship. So when you're brushing your teeth, you're actually beginning your deity worship. You're preparing yourself to come before the Lord. So it's a nice meditation when you're in the bathroom. I'm preparing myself to come before the Lord. Normally when we're brushing, there's all foggy things in the mind. So it's a nice thing to keep in mind. We're actually preparing ourselves to come before the Lord. And next one is Upadana, means gathering articles for worship. Now this means, obviously it means gathering flowers, gathering foodstuffs, picking tulsi, preparing food, cooking. Although in one sense that's also worship, but also preparing cooked foods. And also it means, for instance, shopping, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, what are you doing? You're gathering the articles. You're gathering the articles. It also means collecting funds, so that the worship of the Lord can continue. This is known as Upadana, gathering of articles for worship. So again, you can see that actually deity worship has a wide spectrum of activity. Next one is yoga. This means establishing, becoming fixed in one's spiritual identity. So we chant this prayer before one worships the Lord. We chant, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I have gained, after many, many births and deaths, I've been born in the cycle of birth and death, again and again, being burned by the threefold reasons. Now somehow or another, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I have attained a great fortune of being able to serve his lotus feet, as well as the lotus feet tree, Panchatattva. So in other words, you don't just wake up and obviously you don't wake up and begin to worship the deity. You wake up and you do Abhigamana, and then you do Upadana. But then before you engage in actual worshipping your lords, you meditate. For a few seconds, you meditate. Your mind is ready. You're ready. You've got everything's ready. You've set you took a nice bath in meditative mood and nice cloth and get ready. Then you say these prayers, and then it's actually and then before you actually begin the worship, it's described as another. This is more details of worship. Then devotees will do Manasa Puja, where they will do the whole worship in the mind. Madhav Maharaj speaks about this. Vishnu Madhav Maharaj is speaking about it. Manasa Puja, like a more elaborate way of worshipping the Lord, is that before you offer the items, you do everything within the mind. So in a couple, for 2 or 3 minutes, for a minute, you just offer everything within your mind. It's called Manasa Puja. So you can imagine and then when you've done that, then you begin the worship. And then you actually begin the worship. It's all like preparing the mind. Ready. So that's yoga. Ija, worship of the Lord. This is in public temples. This is the only thing that the public will see, is doing the arti. Everything else goes on behind closed doors. Because it's very, very personal. It's very, very intimate. This Ija, the actual worship of the Lord, is what you see in this arti. It's a very, very small aspect of deity worship. The actual worship. You're not offering a ghee lamp, offering Ija. And Swadaya. This means the overall cultivation of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the overall cultivation of devotional service. So that means, these are all interdependent. If you do Ija, if you're doing worship, but you're not doing Swadaya, the Lord's not going to be so pleased with your worship. Understand? If you're doing Ija and you're not doing so much Swadaya, the overall cultivation of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, with all its rules and names and regulations, your worship will not be so pleasing. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. And the other one should be obvious. Like you cannot do Ija unless you've done Abhigamana, isn't it? Abhigamana means taking bath. So you have to do that before you can do Ija. Yes?
After Ija, Swadhyaya, in that cultivation of devotional service, can you little bit elaborate? How do you cultivate devotional service? You have to think.
Studying Prabhupada's books, studying Prabhupada's books, everything we do basically, attending Mangalati, taking Prashadam, associating with devotees, attending, hearing from the spiritual master. This is the cultivation of devotional service, So that has to be there. Hare Krishna. Any questions about these points? The time is now 10 to 9. There's another little PowerPoint I can show, but I don't want to take too much of the time. What's the cut-off time?
9:30.
9:30. Is that too late for anybody? That's okay?
Whenever you feel like.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Any questions? Yes, please.
Roji, you mentioned about so many mantras that you have to,
chant.
Can we?
Yes, sorry.
Can we get those mantras when you share the slides and the mantras with us?
I can refer you to a specific book where all these mantras are there. It's in the Pancharatra Pradeep.
On the database.
Yes, on the database. You have a database? Pancharatra Pradeep, you'll find. What I presented just now was all from Pancharatra Pradeep. Yeah? And you'll find all these mantras there. Let's just see. This is interesting. Here, excuse me. Now, I was graced to attend, as Gaura Krishna Prabhu was saying, was a 4-month course in Mayapur, and on deity worship specifically. And what he was taught there was there's 10 principles which Nrsimha Vajra, he's the deity worship minister, and he consulted with many devotees, senior devotees, asking them what's the most important points of deity worship. We consulted Bhanu Swami, Radha Swami, Shivarama Swami, Dr. Vijayapurna Maharaj, many senior devotees, actually I think the whole GBC. Yeah, and they came up with these 10 specific important points, 10 principles that go behind deity worship. And I'll just list them 10 here, and we'll discuss a few of them. We won't have time to discuss all of them, but they came up with these 10 principles. Cleanliness and punctuality, very important, and we'll discuss that. Exemplary character and behavior, we mentioned that a little bit just now. Training and education, that we're trying to do now, a little bit, giving devotees, helping teach devotees about some principles of deity worship. Swadhyaya, preaching spirit, we mentioned that, we shouldn't lose touch. Someone, a pujari of the Lord, a servant of the Lord, shouldn't lose touch with the preaching spirit. Prabhupada gave many details of worship of the Lord. They're there, can be found in his letters and his purports. Cultivating the mode of goodness. Again, this comes up, is very important. The deity is directly Krishna. Harmony with other services. You shouldn't become proud, especially. Be careful, especially, pujaris in the temple, they're addressing Krishna. They're putting Krishna's flute on. Putting his peacock on. Shouldn't become, no. Chanada Krishna, Chanada Roda Krishna, Manina, Kitana Sadahari. Yet it may be that a person cleaning a temple room is in better consciousness than a person putting the peacock feather on Krishna. Yeah? They may be more in a devotional mood. Yeah? Maybe more, the person cleaning the pots may be in better consciousness. Yeah? So it's not, so we shouldn't become overly proud. Oh, I'm doing something. No. There's a harmony of other services. Number 10, balance the deals to the rules and regulations. So let's describe this. This is these 2 points which Prabhupada emphasized on many occasions: cleanliness and punctuality. He says about cleanliness here and punctuality. The deity worship must be completely pure in terms of cleanliness and punctuality. Otherwise, there will be some offense. So this is one letter Prabhupada wrote in 1973. So interesting there that he mentions punctuality is an aspect of purity. You see it? Must be completely pure in terms of cleanliness and punctuality. So it's an aspect of purity. Otherwise, there will be some offense. So, but just and in the Panchratapadi, it gives a nice little analysis taken from Panchratapa scriptures about the 6 divisions of purity. Is anyone familiar with these? The 6 divisions of purity. The first one is known as is purity of place, sthana suddhi. So it's good to keep in mind, it's purity of place. Before you begin your worship, is the room clean? Is things organized? Yeah? You should, before you begin, close the drawers, fold things up, get things ready before you actually begin your worship. It should be cleaned, obviously, clean with a cloth, and some you can clean with cow dung as well, depend. Now, if you're cleaning with cow dung inside the house, then it's not like you smear the cow dung. What you do is you get cow dung and you sprinkle it in water, and then you do a little bit sprinkle and you clean. Outside you smear it, In the house you don't smear it, otherwise the wife might be complaining. The husband will like that. But the point is, the place should be clean. One should decorate, put nice flowers ready, get things nice and ready. So good to keep that in mind. Just picture your place of worship at home or whatever it may be, and just think at this point: is the place clean? So that's the first consideration of cleanliness, purity, sthana shuddhi. Next one is dravya shuddhi. Dravya means articles. They must be clean. Prabhupada said after the arti we should cleanse the paraphernalia straight away. Very nice to do here. After each arti, which are cleans very nicely. So all articles used in office must be physically pure in accordance with spiritual standards. It's no good. The place may be clean. You may be clean as a Gamana. You may be clean. The place may be clean. But if the key lamp's dirty, the Lord might not accept it. So are things clean? Is this clean? The Haribhakti Vilas directs us to clean articles and sprinkle them with sanctified water. So you see the pujari that before they offer, they will purify each item. I'm sure you know these principles. So Dravya Suri, purity of body, Atma Suri. Because a person cannot approach the Lord in a contaminated state, he must first purify his physical body. And it's very interesting here that the first aspect of purifying the body, the physical body, is actually, it means waking up at the proper time. It's the first aspect of being cleansed, of waking up on time. Must first purify his physical body by waking up at the proper time. And that's the first step. Nothing personal, we got a bit late this morning. But it's the first aspect of purity of the body, is waking up on time. Bathing, wearing ornaments, Vaishnava tilak, we discussed this. And then a finer state of purity, we describe that is through Bhuta Suddhi, spiritualizing the body through mantra. There's Achman we do, there's an elaborate Achman you can learn if you have time or inclination, where you touch all the eyes like that, nose like that. You purify all the limbs of the body. And that's called Vaishnavachman. You purify the body. Perhaps this is the most important, isn't it? Purity of mind. Everything else may be very pucker, but if the mind is in a mess, that's the point. You know? If you think of nonsense and everything may be sparkling clean. Krishna wants, you know, what's Krishna means? Because what's in your mind? So purity of mind. And how do we establish that? How do you do it? Chanting, yeah. Actually, these other points, purity of place, will help purity of mind. You understand? If the place is clean, the articles are clean, by that association with what's clean, your mind will become clean. You know? And this is by the principle of association. If everything's cluttered and everything's dirty, by association, osmosis, your mind will become unclean. You know? So, purity of mind. See. Next one is purity of mantra, is mentioned. Mantra sushi. This specifically refers to that the mantras we receive for worship comes from Guru. Yeah, comes from Guru. It doesn't come from the internet. As you could get the Gayatri mantra from the internet, no problem. You could even hear Prabhupada chanting Gayatri mantra on the internet. But it should come from Guru. Yeah? It should come from a bona fide spiritual master. He gives mantra. Yeah? And also in elaborate deity worship there is Mula mantras and Upachar mantras which one may chant. Whereas one is calling the essence of a deity to be, one's calling the essence of the deity in the form of mantra, Mula mantra. And then he infuses the essence of the deity within the item to be offered. Yeah? Mula mantra and Upachar mantras. This is what's being offered. And there's generally only Brahmins chant their mantras. But it's coming from the spiritual master, given by the Guru. And the last one, what's missing here?
Soul.
Soul. Now you could say pure Atmasati actually means mind, body and soul. You can get this. There's a one missing, very important. Deity. Yes. Huh? Yeah, purity of deity. Clean your deity. Don't leave blue tack on your deity. Clean your deity as regularly as you can. Some with grass deity once a week, like that. Isn't it a shame? I'm sure you've all seen in India, probably other places, but in India you've seen some deity where they don't clean. Isn't it? You see some temples where it looks like they haven't cleaned a deity for 15 years. Thick dust, thick dust, covered. It's not really. I remember one time we was visiting Holy Dharms, and there was a group of us, about 30 or 40 of us, and we was all from Western, from England and other places, and was going to take darshan of one deity, and the pujari came running out, and we had to wait. We had to wait. He said, wait. And what was we waiting for? Waiting for him to clean the deity, because he never cleaned the deity. And why was he cleaning the deity? Yeah? His main motivation, clean the deity, get ready, show the deity. Donation. Yeah? Unfortunately, it is not all like that, but in some places it is, I noticed that specifically you see that there's a high level of worship is where the Harinam Sankirtan is going on, where the Yuga Dharma is going on, then everything else is going on. Sometimes in other temples in India, there's no Yuga Dharma. So you can see it in the deities, you can see it that they're not taken care of so well. But where the Yuga Dharma is going on, the deities are good because there's devotion, so the deities look beautiful. So, yeah. Clean your deity. So, I'll just speak about punctuality now a little bit. Punctuality. Why should we be punctual? Why should we be punctual? We've mentioned it a little bit already, but what is it? It's a sign of
Commitment.
commitment. It's a sign of commitment. No? A sign of purity. Yeah. It's a sign of respect, isn't it? No? It's a sign of respect, punctual. Come on time. Describes, of course, punctuality is the politeness of kings. That's from Louis XV, Three Ones of France. You know what that is? Some king of France. Huh? Louis XVIII. He said, punctuality is the politeness of kings. And, there's a quote from Lord Nelson here. I owe all my success in life to having been always a quarter of an hour before my time. So what's better than being on time? Before time. Yeah? We personally see a big difference when devotees come before time in the worship in the temple. It's like sattvic, they come. They're not late, they come 40 minutes before. They come and walk into the puja. They walk in, do Ashman nicely, and they go. And then you see the other extreme where someone comes late, the door opens, bang, they're coming round, and they're like, down the stairs. It's like, what type of worship is the Lord going to get? It's a late. Because there may be a reason why they are, but it shouldn't be a habit. It shouldn't be like. For some, sometimes it's just a mode of passion where one actually gets a taste from being late. Or is it like a challenge to? Oh no! But no, we should come. Better being, punctual. Better being on time is to come before time. Especially because you don't know. Like for instance, if you come before time, then you've got time to do something which might not have been done. If you come to an arti and there's no ghee lamp, or there's no ghee wick, it's like 7:01 and you arrive. That means you're going to be late. It means the Lord's going to get, the arti is going to be late. So if you can, it's always nice to come in good time, before time. Now, a quote from Charles Dickens here. Never could have done what I have done without the habits of punctuality, order and diligence, without the determination to concentrate myself on one subject at a time. So you learn by being punctual, being diligent, he was able to concentrate on one subject at a time. In other words, we're speaking about the mode of goodness, basically. Mode of goodness. And here's one here. This is from someone called Franklin Jones. I've no idea who he is. A bit comfortable, but the trouble with being punctual is that nobody's there to appreciate it. You come on time and everyone is late, so no one. Here's that quote I mentioned earlier. This is a French proverb. That while we keep a man waiting, he reflects on our shortcomings. So while we keep the Lord waiting, he may be reflecting on our shortcomings. Or the head pujari may be the person in charge of the temple. So, as much as possible, we should try and be punctual. Kindness and punctual is very, very important. We spend it seems like I think I've spent most of my devotional life, I seem to be cleaning. Cleaning. Maha cleans, cleaning. Ashram Maha cleans, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning. Because the nature of this world is unclean, isn't it? It's an unclean place. Matter is unclean, isn't it? So we're all devoted, always cleaning. Cleaning, most importantly, we're cleaning our hearts. And by cleaning the Lord's paraphernalia, we are cleaning our hearts. Perhaps I'll stop there. If there's any questions or comments, on anything related to deity worship, we can try and answer.
So
Yes, please.
it's not a direct question of the deity worship. It's a question about the priorities. First part of it is how Prabhupada managed to, because he was doing so many things, writing books, giving initiations, supervising their works, and on top of it, in the beginning he didn't even have every facilities. How Prabhupada managed to be clean and do all these things. And the second bit is for a non-temple, who's not living in the temple, like a Gruhastha with children and husband doing some services, helping him in his services, and chanting rounds. What is the priority of a woman like me? Because we have the deity worshipping of Tulsi Mata, cleaning the house, looking after the children.
Yes.
So which one, what is the correct balance?
In answer to your first, everyone heard the question?
Yes.
Yeah. This is something which is, again, is something which is an ever-increasing wonder of Prabhupada, how he achieved what he did. Yeah. Prabhupada was not of this, Prabhupada was in this material world, but he was not of this material world. He's a Vaikuntha man. And so he's moving in Vaikuntha time, or eternality. So when Srila Prabhupada, on devotee, actually worked out that Prabhupada, each day he spent 7 hours taking care of his health. Right? That means Prabhupada would take prasadam and he would take prasadam for an hour or more. Right? It would be a meditation. He would generally take prasadam on his own. Not on his own, but generally. And he would take 1 hour to eat prasadam. And he'd go for morning stroll in the morning. For how long? 2 hours, something like that. And he'd take massage. How long? 2 hours, hour and a half, he'd take massage. And at the same time, he was running an international society for Krishna consciousness. We get, Prabhupada is not even in the mode of goodness. He's in Sudha Sattva, So, by the internal energy of the Lord, Prabhupada achieved so much. But it seemed like he had so much time for everyone. Mukunda Maharaj mentions that in the Journey of Self-Discovery, the Science of Self-Realization, that when he first, he felt he was interrupting Prabhupada when he would go to see him, but he got the impression that Prabhupada had all the time in the world for him, and then he ran out of things to say, and Prabhupada was just waiting for something else. So in other words, Prabhupada is not of this material, he's completely in a different dimension. And his sound vibration is very, very powerful. His presence is very, very powerful. His sound vibration is very powerful. So, we're running around trying to do so many duties, isn't it? Trying to do this, and we get all passionate and this and that. But Prabhupada, because of his purity, because of being situated in the spiritual energy, being situated in the internal energy of the Lord, then his sound vibration, Sapta Brahma coming from Prabhupada is so powerful that he could give a class for 30 minutes and inspire 100 people for the rest of their lives. It's the power of Prabhupada's purity, It's like I also respect the spiritual masters as well. There's so much. They're achieving so much just by speaking Krishna Katha. They're motivated and the whole thing's going on. So materially, whenever we had to, calculate how Prabhupada did and, travel around the world, how many times did Prabhupada travel the globe? 14 times. Is it? 11, 14 times. He had time to go for a stroll. Who's got time to go for a stroll here in the morning for 2 hours? Yeah, you're very lucky. Generally we don't, isn't it? It's service. Generally we don't, isn't it? It's at work and so on. Who's got time for an hour massage? Who's got time to take, how long does it take for us to take the shower? 10 minutes, perhaps, some? 15 minutes up. So Prabhupada is Prabhupada, you know, Prabhupada is spiritual realm, you know? And the other part of your question was how to balance your duties, you know. Let's see, I might not be able to find it very quickly, but if I can, because there's a quote. Prabhupada, excuse me. There's another PowerPoint, which I won't have time to show, but there's one interesting quote. Let's look. I think it best everyone send his attention again. Let's see if I have it here. There is a quote where Prabhupada is referring to this question, and excuse me. Yeah, see if this is. I'll just read from here because it is a very good idea that you have been. No, it's not. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I can't find it exactly, but as far as I can remember, Prabhupada emphasized that it's a very good idea that you have become more attached to the deities above marriage. Above marriage. It's a very good idea to become more attached to the deities above marriage. But it is not, there's some other details here, not quite relevant, but it's not good to live at home because that is where meat is eaten. So this is a reply to a specific circumstance. You know, that will be offensive. So how can you worship the deity under such circumstances? If your whole family become devotees, then that's another thing. I think that you can move from Lord Jagannath deity to worship Gauri. If that is your desire, that will be best. Srila Prabhupada letter. So I think it's a question of balance. Shouldn't be, as much as possible, shouldn't neglect to worship the deities, shouldn't neglect the family's duties to the family. So I don't know if I'm answering the question exactly, but as far as I understand it's a question, you have to be balanced. Definitely in Prabhupada, in the letter I'm thinking of, I cannot find the quote, but Prabhupada is saying that you shouldn't neglect the worship of the deity. You shouldn't be neglected, you know? You shouldn't be neglected for the sake of family duties. So both should go on, and vice versa as well.
My question is in the chanting and the deity worship, worshipping Tulsi Mata, and the serving husband helping in his services, and the children. So which should be first three? First three would be more difficult to, you know. Is chanting first priority or deity worship first priority? Which I always feel a bit.
What do you do at the moment? What's your? Do you do your chanting in the morning first?
Few rounds and the deity worship at that particular time, about 7ish in the morning, and
then you get children ready.
Carry on chanting till end of the day.
Yes, so I would say, you know, what you're doing there is a good, you know, it's a good balance according to the circumstance that you're in. You know, you get some, wake up early and chant some rounds, and then according to the time, you worship the deity, you worship the Lord. Then you engage in family duties. Priority, chanting the holy name, worshipping the Lord, then perhaps it would be great, some more experienced devotees who are living at home. They may be best to, I'm a brahmachari. All his duties, perhaps someone who's more experienced can answer. Yes, Guruji.
I have a question. What is the minimum standard of deity worship that we should be performing at home?
Minimum standard of deity worship. Now, let's find that. It's here. Interesting charts. Can everyone see this?
Yeah, a little bit.
This gives different levels of worship that you can offer. You start at the top. This is the minimum. Occasionally offering bhoga, some incense, some japa or kirtan before the Lord. And you have pictures. And your deities are pictures. So that's the minimum. What's the maximum? There is no maximum.
If your deities are pictures, what's the minimum?
That's the occasional, in other words, not occasional offering of bhoga. You have some incense, offer some flowers by the, and do some japa in front of, chant your japa in front of the worships. And your deities are pictures of Guru. Next one. You remove at night time. You're cleaning the altar, and you offer dried fruits and nuts daily. This is coming from Shinkarvacha Prabhu. He gave me this.
That's Guru Goranga pictures?
Yeah, I've got the incense. You're offering incense, flowers daily. Once a month you're dressing. You notice the first one. There's no dressing. The picture. Once a month you're dressing on an Ekadashi. So many devotees do that, you dress the Lord on Ekadashi. Once a month bathing on Ekadashi, something. Japa or Kirtan. And Guru Goranga pictures. Pictures of Lord Chaitanya and Guru. Next one. Next one. Can everyone see? Everyone can read from here? A bit difficult, but next one down. The next level, going up, you could say, is of the chadas. This is Gaunitai. You actually have Gaunitai deities, you offer them chadas. You keep, remove flowers from the day before. There's no mantra. In other words, you're not putting them to sleep. There's no beds. Whatever is cooked in one's home is offered. Everything is offered. Not just to the picture, but to the deity of the Lord. Go on time. Do arti daily. So the two before, then there's no artis. So according to your time, according to the circumstance that you are in, then you may adopt one of these. The minimum is there. That's what Prabhupada gave as a minimum there. At least offer some flower. At least offer some incense, chant Hare Krishna. If you've got time, or you've got time and inspiration, you can do this. Fortnightly dressing once every 2 weeks. Bathing once every 2 weeks. Japa and Kirtan. The next one, the same mantra. Chadas, no putting the deities to sleep with mantras formally. Dried fruit and whatever is cooked in the home. Twice daily. So there's an arti in the morning and there's an arti in the evening. Yes. Next. Dressing is weekly, once a week. Bathing is weekly. Japa and Kirtan. This is what Gaunitai, and if one has Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra. That's a nice standard. If you have Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, if you have them at home, then the standard should be a little bit more. Jagannath eats a lot. Well, he eats 57 times or something like that on the tree. So. The next one is there's 2 offerings daily. Twice offering food. There's 2 specific large offerings made for the Lord. Twice daily. One can be a full arti. So one can be a full arti, not just a dup arti. And dup artis means incense, lamp and flowers. But you can offer next. The standard is to a full arti once a day. 2 or 3 times a week, bathing, daily is dressing. Every day you're addressing your lordships at home. Japa and Kirtan plus some other devotionals, some other standard prayers. Often sing some bhajans. This is going inside from the head of Radha Krishna. And another thing that perhaps the highest standard which is listed here is you put the lordships to sleep, you wake them up in the morning, there's mantras there, offering food daily at regular times. Yeah? Regular times according to the situation, not regular as possible. Twice daily, morning and evening, dressing, bathing, reading in the morning, japa, daily prayers. No, it doesn't say arti, it might be, perhaps that's a mistake there. We should presume that the highest standard includes arti, it must be some. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any questions before we stop there? It's 9:25. If there's also some other questions, well, you can always speak to me after. You can try and answer. But we didn't cover everything. There was some other quotes on home worship, but I don't have time to show them now. Another time. Perhaps tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, thank you for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Oh,
Deity Murali Manohar Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So thank you for coming, taking out precious time out. We have very compact schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we did a lot of attendance yesterday, but still some of you came today. So thank you very much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Manohar Prabhu. I will repeat your own words. You haven't finished your presentation yet, so
so you'll have to come back.
So you have to come back again.
Yes,
to finish it. Prabhuji, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking precious time out. So please welcome and welcome again. So he comes back again to our temple. 3 times loudly chanting. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Today's cooking is done by Kamran. Kamran has done. Is it pizza? Is it?
Pasta.
Pasta. Okay. Today is a special menu. So please give your blessings and best wishes to Kamran. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much. So, you have any handbook that I can read?
Yes, there's